Okay.
Are you going to comment on the pipe?
No comment on the pipe. You can say whatever you want about the pipe. But welcome back. Here we are, back, show and teller. It's been a while. We had some Jewish holidays, but you don't know that. But we've been some Jewish holidays, so I haven't been in the studio for at least 3 weeks. And we are back with a very, very, very special guest. And as you know, I try to bring in some really innovative people who like to shake it up in the world, people who are doing some big things in the world. And I had to bring in my guest who is here tonight. Tonight we're here. Lian Zucker.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here. And you don't know really what she's doing yet, who she is, but she's like making some big waves here in the world, the dating world. And she's come up with a concept which I honestly think is like kol hakavod, as we'd say, unbelievable. She is the CEO, co-founder, co-creator of the, we'll say it, maybe it's not the word, but the cutting edge, ahead of its curve dating app known as Loop. So without further ado, Lian,
yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
So happy you can be here.
Thank you so much.
So happy we get to hear your story, how this all got started, and what you're doing in life right now.
Yes. Thank you so much, Rabbi T. I'm really happy to be here. I don't live in LA. I'm visiting my family. I grew up in LA. And so I'm happy that the stars aligned.
I was like, I texted her and I'm like, she's a creator. She's busy. She's not going to have time. She lives in New York. How is she going to have time to come down to downtown LA to do it? She's like, I'm in.
We make time for things we care about.
I appreciate it. So, Lian, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your story. Tell us where you're from. Tell us how you got to where you got to today. And I'll ask you questions along the way.
Yes. So my name is Lian, also Lian in Hebrew. I'm from Israel. And so I'm one of those kids who didn't know how to pronounce their names growing up because it depends on the language.
Yeah.
Anyways, I moved to the US when I was young, grew up in LA.
את מדברת עברית?
אני מדברת עברית.
כן.
אני חושבת שבעברית רוב האנשים חושבים שאני ישראלית, still.
כן.
But I can get it, but I actually, you probably don't know this, I became a US citizen the day before September 11th.
Of 2001.
Of the actual, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. After 7 years of being here.
And then the next day, you found out about what it is to be American.
Yeah. So anyways,
Fun fact.
The day, they're not so fun, but the day hit hard, and I'm in fact a very patriotic American, but Israeli born.
Amazing. Fantastic. Okay, so you have Israeli parents. They moved here. You were how old when you moved here?
I was 3.5.
3.5.
Spent summers in Israel, so very connected to my Israeli identity and of course my Jewish identity.
Amazing. Okay. Do you have any siblings?
I have an amazing brother who is not only a brother but also a best friend and a co-founder.
Wow.
Whose name is Adam. Adam, yes. And we were just talking about this. We are obviously best friends and work together very well. I think it's actually my life's biggest accomplishment that I convinced Adam to quit his job at Meta and come work on Loop with me. And he'd also just gotten promoted, so.
So he really believed in the product and believed in you and believed that something was in the future. And we'll find out more about this as we go along. So you're your normal high school kid. You went to high school here in LA?
Yes, I went to Harvard Westlake for.
We know Harvard Westlake. I went to Notre Dame High School. Nice Jewish kid at Catholic high school. Nice Jewish girl.
I guess. Yeah. I think it's like historically there's some Christianity. There was a chapel there.
Yeah. So you went to Harvard Westlake.
I went to Harvard Westlake. I was a gymnast growing up, but retired before college. I studied applied math at Yale.
You went to Yale?
I went to Yale.
Straight out of high school?
Straight out of Harvard Westlake. Thought for a second, like, do I go to the Army? But it would have just, I don't know. When you're young, you're very tunnel vision. You're like, oh, well, the next step is university. Like, why would I?
So you went?
Sorry.
No, it's all good. We're good. So you went to Yale. You applied, what'd you say?
I studied applied math. And
what did you want to do with applied math?
These days, I'm applying math to matchmaking and to helping people find love.
So did one say, okay, this is what I'm going to do in applied math? Or like, what did you say? Like, people say like, okay, I want to be a doctor, a lawyer. What did you say while you were in college as you were undergrad?
While I was in college, it's funny. So I always really loved math. It just kind of came easily to me. I loved the creativity.
People don't usually say creativity.
No,
when it
I think
comes to
math is very creative. Like so many problems can be solved different ways.
Let's look at this cosine and this sine and the
there are different ways to approach
Pythagorean theorem right here. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, which probably comes in really, it does come in well with your dating site, I imagine. But
math is very, I don't know, it's very artistic in the way in which you, whatever. Anyways, I like math. I got to college. I started taking math classes. I thought maybe I would major in computer science. I did some computer science classes. I found the department to be well suited for someone like my brother who's been coding his whole life. It was very kind of...
So you weren't into coding? You didn't.
Oh, I was. I took some coding classes, but I kind of realized that, okay, if I major in computer science, I will spend every day in the computer science computer cluster was appropriately called the zoo. And so I kind of felt like...
Which animal were you?
Definitely a giraffe, obviously.
Okay.
So I just kind of felt like I can spend every night of college in the zoo, or I could take a few computer science classes, a bunch of math classes, some statistics, and lo and behold...
And be more well-rounded.
And lo and behold, there I was, a well-rounded applied math major.
So you graduate, were you involved in like any sororities, or did you do anything like that?
You're gonna laugh really hard.
I'm looking forward to it.
I was you're talking to the undergraduate president of Chabad at Yale.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Undergraduate president of Chabad. Now, what does that mean?
The last time I will ever be president of anything, guaranteed.
We don't know that yet.
No, we do.
Ad me v'esrim, until 120, your life is still in front of you. You're speaking to a rabbi. There's a lot going on. All right, so how does one become the president of Chabad? Like, does that mean like in university you were involved Jewishly? You were doing things like... Yes.
So it was very important for me to find a Jewish home on campus. I went to the Hillel, which was lovely, but it felt a little community center-ish, and I wanted something that was a little warmer. And it's actually really funny. I met this kid who was a year above me, living in the same dorm as me, and he was like, "Lian, you have to come to Chabad. You have to come to Chabad." Hilariously,
did you know what Chabad was?
Of course, I knew what Chabad was.
Okay, fine.
Hilariously, he was a Catholic boy, so I just assumed this guy was Jewish, but he, he'd heard about Chabad, and I went and I met the rabbi, and it was just a magical experience. I mean, going to college, especially since I grew up in LA and I always spent time even in the U.S. and communities that had very big Jewish populations. But in college, I was the first Jewish friend that some of my friends had. And so, I do feel fortunate that I went to college in a slightly different, time than the one.
Don't age yourself.
I'm so old, but every year I feel younger because my age becomes more surprising because I look quite young. But anyways, I had an amazing experience. It brought me closer to my Judaism.
What is the responsibility of being a president of Chabad? Like, what did that mean?
It entailed I attended Shabbat dinner, and I helped recruit people and encouraged people to attend Shabbat dinners and holidays. I also interacted with donors and helped there. When I was at Yale, actually, we were in the process of moving into a new Chabad building, so it was quite a big capital campaign. And then
I might know who might be one of the donors of the Chabad building of Yale, maybe potentially. Yes.
So, anyways, that was that. But I also did other things in undergraduate. Yale is in New Haven, and which is a community that needs a little bit of help, and so I was involved in this consulting group that helped small businesses get loans. And so I tried giving back to the New Haven community. Wow, it feels like I am aging myself. I feel like I could barely remember.
Was this about 10 years ago?
Sorry?
This is about 10 years ago?
Yeah, we let's round it to 10.
Okay,
How about that?
Plus or minus, standard deviation. We're math majors,
Yeah. I apply my math very well.
Amazing. So you graduate from Yale.
Yes.
And like most graduates of Yale, you have a resume. You have, this is the university I went to, and you say, okay, I'm going to go into the workforce. So what did you end up doing?
So I thought you were going to say, like most nice graduates, you go into investment banking, which is in fact what I did. I was getting ready for that. But yeah, so I started off
because you wanted to be a successful investment banker and kill it in that world and work 80 hours worth of work and go that route.
Yeah, I kind of admire my decision-making progress back then. It was so naive. But sometimes less information is actually better.
For sure.
By the way, potentially in dating. There are lots of studies about this. But anyways, whatever.
We'll get to that.
I just assumed investment banking opens many doors.
Opportunity.
Good job.
Financial security.
I will learn about companies and apply my math. Like literally, I just
get a decent paycheck. Maybe become a partner.
Also, I was really foolish because I decided I wanted to do M&A, and so I only applied.
That is mergers and acquisitions for those who don't know what M&A.
I always liked two becoming one. Remember that. Hold on to that thought. But anyway. Anyways, I decided that's what I wanted to do. I only applied for those jobs. I got a few. I started. And you know what? No regrets. It was, How
long did you last?
I lasted the whole program. I did the analyst program in investment banking. I had a tremendous experience, quite frankly. Like, obviously, it's really arduous work. I was working 100-hour weeks. Some weeks there was a 2-week period where I came home every day between 4 and 6 a.m. And
starting the day at what time?
Yeah, like would sleep for a second, shower, and go back to work. But it taught me a lot. There was really tremendous camaraderie with the analyst class. Made good friends, and it more than the skills. It teaches you how to be like professional, right? Emails are to be answered. Work is to be checked.
Checks and balances.
Yeah. And so yeah, it was a really great first step in my career.
Okay.
And I kind of quickly realized, again, not that it was something, I was under no illusion that this was my calling and that I would be in banking for the rest of my life, but
it was a stepping stone.
I've always gravitated towards entrepreneurship and that was kind of like the story of why my family came to the U.S. and Israel's obviously a startup nation. So I always wanted to do something.
And you were encouraged as a child to go out and
very much so.
They promoted you to do things which are challenging, go for it, live beyond the borders and go for it.
Oh yes, very much so. The topic of conversation at the dinner table was like startup. And my dad very much so instilled in us that the best way to kind of build yourself, especially when you're young, is to take risks and find opportunities often which arise at early stage startups where you basically get more responsibility that you necessarily deserve from your resume.
So the classic answer, again, you did applied mathematics, but growing up, if somebody said, Lian, what do you want to be when you grow up? Did you have that quintessential answer? Or was it like, you know what, I'm going to be an entrepreneuress and that's what it's going to be?
It's a good question. It changed a lot. You're going to laugh. I really wanted to be a surgeon for a long time.
Okay.
And my parents, especially my dad, he's probably like the only Jewish parent ever that detracted his daughter from who wanted to become a surgeon.
Because he said, it's going to take too much time for you away from your family.
He's like, and you always spend time in hospital. And then you're with your family and you get a call, to go to the hospital. I really don't do that accent well. I don't. I think you do it better than I do. But anyway, so it changed. I was fascinated. I make a lot of jokes. Trust me, if I wanted to be a surgeon, I would have. My dad would not have detracted me. But I think I was fascinated by it, like wanted to watch YouTube videos. But I think it's one thing to be fascinated by surgery, and like becoming a surgeon requires a whole other.
So I'm going to ask you the $1 million question now.
Yeah.
Because I think this was the question that fascinated me the most, is that Lian is, at her Pilates class, or Lian is in the shower one day.
I do Pilates a lot.
Okay,
Love it.
So it could have been
Yeah.
Pilates, or you were in the shower, or you were, doing some kind of investment banking stuff that's way beyond me. And one day you just said, the light bulb comes on, and you say, you know what? I see a need. I'm going to come up with a Jewish app, and I'm going to create something different than any other Jewish app that's out there, and I'm going to go for it. So when was that moment, or what was that moment? When and what was that moment? And then what then pushed you to be like, you know what? This is not just a hobby. This is not just a fun thing. I'm going to go for it.
Really good question. So number one, I love that you say it's a Jewish app, because it isn't.
See, and this is why we bring on people, because we just assume.
No.
The Israeli over here, this is what we're going to assume.
So I'll get back to the origin story in a second, but Loop is a matchmaking app. So it's really a social network for romantic introductions.
Okay.
You sign up and you say if you are single and want to be set up, or if you're just there to set up your friends. From there, the app makes it really easy to connect with people you know, as well as communities like the very vibrant Jewish community. And then once you and I are connected, you can see who your friends know, like on many social networks, right? I can see who you know and ask you for introductions, or set up my friends with your friends.
So that's the secret sauce of your app.
I kind of jumped the gun, but I think it's helpful for the
Yes.
story. But that's why I love the fact that we became very popular in the Jewish community. I of course am not only a Jew, but a very proud Jew, and also an Israeli. And we started with the communities that we know the best. We also have.
So explain it one more time exactly, if people didn't get that.
Yes.
So explain that again.
So one more time. On Loop, you connect with all your friends. The app makes it really easy to do so from phone contacts. Once you connect with a friend, you can see who they know. So I would connect with you, Rabbi T. I would be able to see who you know. And if there's someone I'm interested in, I can ask you for an introduction. Or I can set up one of my friends with one of your friends. And so all matches on Loop have a matchmaker
built in
person in the middle, facilitating the actual introductions, keeping people accountable, right? If you set me up with someone on Loop, that's my reputation on the line, right? So I'm
as a friend,
right?
Because I'm hopefully going to be setting up somebody who I vouch for, that I would hope that I would want my friend who I'm vouching for to be with another friend that I'm vouching for. So I'm playing a part in this.
Exactly. It just makes sense, right? I mean, I think it's and this kind of gets us back to the origin story, but
yeah. So let's get to the
let's get it. But I just wanted to comment on the fact that I love the fact that you said it's a Jewish app, because it's meant to feel like an app for the community that you're in, right? So if you're like me, Jewish, and care about meeting in the Jewish world, then it's gonna, most of my friends who I'm gonna want introductions from are Jewish. I'm gonna join Jewish communities. But Loop is actually for everyone. And so, if you care about dating among the community of rock climbers, there will be a community, there is a community for rock climbing. And so we're very much building a platform where the Jewish community has been our beachhead market. And I think that there's also a lot of, we'll get to this as well, but there's a lot of Jewish wisdom in meeting this way through someone. Okay, so back to origin story, right?
Yes.
So first of all,
thank you for the explanation, by the way. I have many more questions, though.
Of course, I can't wait. So first of all, we skipped a few steps in my career that I will skip, but I should say that I was. This is my first time being a founder, but I was the first employee and head of product at a telemedicine, direct-to-consumer digital health company.
Okay.
And that was really what got me motivated to build something from scratch, right? It's as close to being a founder as it gets, and I was just, I really love that, those early stages of finding a customer need and building something that really resonates and kind of cracking that product market fit. I was there so early that we didn't even have a name when I joined. I was doing a push-up for every purchase.
Wow.
Until we became too successful for my arms, basically. And so, that really helped motivate me to want to go off.
So you kind of learned the ropes at that point.
Yeah, and I mean, took the company from, we were like a 4-person, kind of like 2 founders and 2 kind of, I led product, and a person who became a very close friend of mine led marketing. Mm-hmm. And by the time I left, I'd built out the product team. In the beginning, we didn't even have a head of engineering, so I was de facto that. And by the time I left, we were at like over 100 million ARR. And so that definitely inspired me to want to found a company. And in terms of what I was going to found, I very, very strongly believe that you have to pick something that you're extremely passionate about, so much so that you're down to spend potentially the rest of your professional life working on. And there's literally no problem that is more personal to me and that I care about fixing more than this one.
And I'm not going to ask why, but how did that passion become mean so much to you?
No, you can absolutely ask why. So much. So first of all, my parents' meet cute is exactly this. My parents met through a mutual friend of the family. It's a hilarious story. We can spend time on it later, but it was one where it was very clear that there were common values, and by the time they showed up to that first date, it felt magical, which I think is so important. Mm-hmm. For my own personal experience, I am single. By the way, I've been in relationships from Loop. It works, and you have to use your own product. If you don't use your own product, then don't build. Literally, like even if you're not a customer,
you gotta have the street cred.
I was the first employee at Keeps.com, which is a product for men's hair loss, and I purchased medication from you have to go through your own product, even if you're not a user of it. Anyways, but yeah, I found for my own personal experience, I've been on dating apps for a long time, and it just doesn't make sense that for what is the most important social decision of our lives, we're on our own. Alone, under the covers, late at night, swiping right and left on people who are essentially represented like cards. You see a few photos and superficial facts. It's
life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
You never know what you're gonna get.
Except for the picture, it just tells me that this is what I'm.
Yeah. And so it just, to me.
You wanted to solve a problem, or what in your mind there might have been a problem, or there might be a crisis, or there might be something that is clearly. There's a lacking, or there's a plethora of different dating apps, and you just said, you know what? Okay, I'm going to go into a space with already so many dating apps where we're all swiping right or we're swiping left, and I'm going to make it different.
Yes, but I would take it one step further. I wanted to solve a problem, but I more felt like I had to solve a problem.
Reinvent the wheel differently.
That's that simple. It just doesn't, the current ecosystem doesn't make sense, and I saw it in myself, and I also see it in a lot of my friends, and that's really what we built. We decided, like you said, there are a lot of dating apps out there. They're almost all essentially reskinning of Tinder. Tinder came up with swipe right, swipe left. It's a very strong paradigm, and I'm not here to poo-poo the apps. Many people met and have really beautiful relationships from them. But we decided to reset to what we view as the most important thing. And
I'm sorry, go on.
No, all good. And the most important thing is not, I can add a song to my profile so that when you see my profile, you'll hear a song, right? The most important thing is not these small little gimmicks.
You changed the game.
The paradigm.
Right.
The most important thing we determined was
trust. When you say we, that means you had the idea, and then you came up with the idea or the paradigm, and then you spoke to your brother? Or give me a little bit of that process of how that happened. Like, again, you were going through, you wrote it down on a piece of paper and you said, this is different, this has never happened before? Or did you go to your brother? Give me a little bit of that story on how that happened.
Yeah. Listen, it's always a process. Spoke not only to my brother, but also and I think it's a lot of entrepreneurs, or maybe I shouldn't say entrepreneurs, a lot of people who want to be founders have this instinct to keep their idea really, really secret because they fear that someone can copy
Rip it
them.
off.
And ideas are not, some ideas are incredible and genius even. And sometimes I see an idea and I think, oh, I wish I had the idea. But the reason why the person is successful with that idea
Execution.
is not necessarily because they had the idea. It's execution. It's, by the way, it's temerity. It's the fact that they were brave enough to go off on a limb and build it. It's grit, right? And so anyways, so yeah, I had this idea, which was quite simple, which was essentially like setups are the best. And the best dates happen when it's someone who you know and trust who recommends the date, and that's because you, one, trust it. It's often, likely to be a good match. But two, because you feel really good about it, right? Falling in love, forget falling in love, feeling like a little bit of chemistry, a little bit of excitement to go on a second date requires kind of like suspending disbelief, even motivating to go on that first date, right? And so it really helps when you have like a good association, you feel like it was kind of meant to be in some way. We've had over 400 people get married after meeting on Loop. And a lot of the stories when I ask about the meet cute, it's this girl attended an event and she met, and this is actually like one of the first marriages I know about, and she met another girl who was really sweet and actually gave her a ride home from the event. And they swapped numbers. And a year later, when she signed up to Loop, they connected. And she saw a guy in the other, right? And so, when she showed up to that first date, she felt like, oh, this is meaningful. And it's when you feel that you put your best foot forward and that you let good things happen. Because, if you show up on a date a cynic and kind of, if you show up on to a date, I often hear about a VC's perspective. And I heard the following, which is essentially like the job of VC is to convince themselves not to invest in the company. And if they can't convince themselves, then they invest. And I think dating is the exact opposite, right?
Yeah.
So we had this idea. We built a demand test for the idea.
You already had your brother now on board?
And I didn't have my brother on board at this point. He came a little bit later. And by the way,
you're taking care of all the early infantile stages of this by yourself.
Yeah, but there are different ways to like bring things to market. Had people helping. But what I learned from 30 Madison, which is the parent company of Keeps, where I was the first employee, is this process of demand testing. So, before you kind of invest a lot of resources into building a product a certain way, try to get a read on, is this something that people like? Better yet, double click on that and understand why do they like it and what resonates and what doesn't. And so, we went through several phases with Loop. I'll describe.
You were still in your job, by the way, or were you now full-time at this point?
I started, I was mainly full-time. I became full-time quite quickly.
Okay.
There's obviously like a little bit of.
Yeah.
But I think, this could be interesting to share. One of the earliest learnings was actually the first iteration of Loop had people essentially just add their friends as matchmakers and then wait to get a match, and the insight was, hey, people are really sick of swiping. There are all these memes about swipe fatigue, whatever. Let's give singles a break. And so let's have it be that what the singles can do is basically just choose who will set them up. And, it was good insight, but I think we took it a little bit too far. And what we added very quickly, which was kind of like the first aha moment, was this ability to actually see who your friends know. So in technical speak, we opened up the graph so that that essentially gives the singles a little bit more sense of control. And it really helps the matchmakers, right? Because
Because then they know there's an insight now.
If you think fundamentally what we did was with Loop is we remove social friction from the friend setup. So a lot of people really love matchmaking their friends. They really want to. But they forget, they're busy, or it doesn't occur to them at any given moment.
So now it's encouraging them if the friend goes up to this friend and says like, Yalla, no, help me. Like, let's make this happen.
Yes.
So now it's making it quicker, or you're creating an expediency to it and encouraging them for the person who wants the match. Also, they're being proactive.
Exactly. And Rabbi T, even more than that, simply by building your network and ensuring that they join your loop, you create opportunities for your friends. And so we hear from a lot of, I say matchmakers, they're just ordinary people. They're not professional matchmakers, but just people who use Loop to set up their friends. We hear from them, it never would have occurred to me that Abby would have wanted to meet Michael. And then she asked for an intro, and oh my gosh, they're going on a date.
So Loop acted as a matchmaker, as a conduit to create that.
Exactly. It's that system, and we've also expanded into.
Theoretically, one could go onto Facebook or Instagram and look through your friends or your followers or that way, and you could do it that way. But this is curated it seems like it's a more open environment to promote that kind of introduction rather than going onto your Facebook and going through all your friends and something like that.
Exactly. So number one, it has your single status. It has, so whether you're single or not, which Facebook used to have but doesn't really anymore.
Right.
It has like actual information about what it is that you're looking for.
So there is a profile.
There's a profile both about you and what you're looking for. And then, most importantly, it's an app designed specifically for this. So there's embedded consent, like, hey, I'm on Loop to be set up and to set up my friends, right? Whereas, you're on Facebook and Instagram for a slew of other things.
And then you could be considered a stalker.
Exactly. You have to go, there's a lot of friction. You have to go against the grain in order to sneak in there and ask. And people are either uncomfortable to do it or, people are
I'm so glad I asked this question because I didn't, because one could say, oh, well, that's what Facebook has. That's a social network. You can look through people's Facebook pictures and stuff like that. But the fact that you just said that, like, there's an open consent. There's open consent.
There are guardrails, right? So if I'm asked for an introduction that I think is just completely inappropriate because it will never work out, the matchmaker can just ignore it. No foul, no harm. And that's really important. Ultimately dating is a pretty emotionally charged territory, and so it actually helps to have that technology as a little bit of psychological cushion.
So you just said technology. So how is this, again, you kind of already answered the question, but like, what's the one up now of being in the year 2025, having technology as opposed to just me going to you, Lian, and saying, hey, do you have any friends for me that you could set me up with? Like, what is the added benefit of having technology?
Yeah. It's a good question. So first of all, match ideas that never would have occurred to you happen. So by the way, this happened to me. I made me feel so good too. I got a match on Loop from the brother of my best friend from the 7th grade, who, I would never ask him to set me up, right? But because, Loop facilitated that. It's a network specifically for this. So number one, it makes it more efficient, and match opportunities come up that you never would have. It really allows you to harness the network. So that's one. Two, it helps keep people top of mind, right? And so that this people forget, and Loop is actually. We're still working on it, but we've already started adding some gamification features, so people start bragging about how many matches. By the way, my phone is over there, but I'll pull out my phone and I think I've set up 112 people successfully on Loop, meaning both people said yes. And
any of those lead to marriage?
Well, none have led to marriage yet. I love showing off, and I have nothing to show off about because I'll show this to people. And they'll say, oh, so are you, the best matchmaker? Are you in the leaderboards? It's like, no, I suck. You don't understand. I'm like number 100 or so. Like, I'm not.
By gamifying it, that
but,
say,
yeah, but
I'm on the leaderboard. You want to be on the
right,
leaderboard.
There are matchmakers that, have had thousands of matches on Loop. Anyways, but I did have 2 dates, or I set up 2 couples on dates that happened last week. And I'm
Amazing.
I run my matches like with an iron fist. It's not a democracy, No, I'm just kidding. But but by the way, I do think I'm obviously making a silly joke, but it really helps to have someone in the middle kind of encourage you. And when I'm set up and when I have the person who set me up follow up and say, hey, how'd it go? I love that because it's, it's a second to kind of reflect like, how did it go?
So how many users do you have now, or do you like on the app?
Yeah, we have over 40,000 users on the app. Yeah,
that's amazing.
And we're really just getting started because we haven't done any marketing yet. So we've really been focused on getting kind of the dynamics of the app to work. We've been really focused on retention, making sure people come back to the app, and our retention is orders of magnitude higher than other apps in the industry. I'll kind of like leave it there because this is
some. I didn't sign my NDA or anything like that. But can you honestly say though? Can you like work the numbers? Like, are you guys being more successful? Is there more retention, or is there better rate of setups versus other apps? Like, how can one say you guys are doing it and that you're doing it well?
Yeah, I mean, they're marriages, like they're and
where Tinder, we don't know about that necessarily.
So we have pretty intense instrumentation that tracks how often people are using the app, what they're doing on the app, and so just by virtue of that, by virtue of like how many times people open the app, by virtue of how many matches they send out, and that's what's really cool is that the engagement is not only on the single side, but also on the matchmaker side. So I get these, one of my favorite quotes. I've gotten to know some of the matchmakers. Like, I'll just see someone use the app heavily, and I'll email them, and be like, "Hi, I'm the founder. I'd love to talk to you." And then I learn a lot. I get good feedback. But yeah, there was a quote. It's like, my husband asked me, "Do you do anything other than Loop?" And I told him, no, it's like an addiction. And addiction is generally not a positive word, but hey, it's
bringing people together. This is a good vice to have.
Bringing people together, yeah. And we're really just getting started. We've been live for about 2 years.
Unbelievable, 40,000 people in 2 years.
Yes, and over 400 people married that we know about, which is insane. Adam and I have been to a few.
So
weddings.
At 400 divided by 40,000, what's the percentage?
But that's 40,000 is just like people who are there now. So there's.
I mean, you're changing the game.
So look, but it makes sense. Like, it's a no-brainer. It's of course when you have someone setting you up, it's gonna work better than just random.
I mean, I could ask you like, what's the vision? What's the goal? Like, where do you see yourself? Where would you like to see yourself? I'd like to be bigger than Match.com. Like, what's a realistic thing that you would like to see for yourself?
Yeah. So first of all, we're adding a bunch of premium features. So now is the time to sign up for Loop, so that you can kind of experience the app in its early stages and also see how we improve. But we have groups on Loop now as well. So, other than just meeting through your kind of personal connections, you can join
the J-Hub group.
You can join the J-Hub group, exactly. We have groups for communities, locations, interests, professions.
The rock climbing group.
Yes, we have groups for basically like any part of an identity that you can think about. And
so you can like find a Jewish group, you can find a Hungarian group or whatever. I mean,
we have groups for single parents, for example. We have groups for Hungarian.
I just came up with Hungarian.
We definitely have French speakers and Russian speakers. We have groups also for events, and so this is something that I care about a lot because there is a growing trend of people wanting to meet in real life, which I think is amazing. It's like, I love meeting people in real life. I also think it's unfortunately unrealistic in this day and age to expect that Gen Z, let alone Gen Z, of which I pretend to be a part of. Gen Z does everything behind their screens, right? And so to expect this generation to be able to date and meet without an app or without technology, I should say, it is unrealistic. Handling rejection and handling, initiating flirting in person, it can be hard. And so Loop has groups for events to facilitate meeting in real life, essentially. You could be the most extroverted person in the room, but if you go to an event of 200 people, there are going to be people you miss out on.
Right. So it helps
and so
dot the I's and cross the T's, so you can find out who was the 197th person in the room that I didn't have an opportunity to say hello to. But
Loop is your digital overlay to meeting in real life.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
And when people go in to sign up for the event, you'd be like, okay, let's get on the Loop right here and make sure that digital overlay, as you said.
Exactly. So you asked me where we'll be or what the vision is.
Yeah.
So the vision is, first of all, Loop can enable anyone who wants to matchmake their friends, or even become a professional matchmaker to actually do so effectively and at scale. And then, we are going to replicate what we've done in the Jewish community and in many other communities.
How so? What do you mean replicate what you've done in the Jewish communities? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so, Loop has become very popular in the Jewish community. We have a lot of the Jewish matchmakers on there. We have many communities specifically for Loop, and we've kind of cracked this go-to-market with the groups where, we build the groups that would appeal to people in a specific community, and then we can kind of market the group itself. And so we're gonna, and this is, by the way, from a kind of emotional perspective, it really inspires me to kind of bring Jewish wisdom into the world, but also appreciate that the same kind of matchmaking tradition that we have in Judaism is quite popular in other communities, be it the Indian community, the Christian community, the Muslim community, etc.
Who is the person that you look up to the most, or your biggest role model that you look up to?
Ooh.
It could be in business, it can be in life. Who has had an impact?
Yeah. Look, they're obviously really successful founders and business, public figures.
Like whom?
But I'm more inspired by my family, honestly. I really look up to my father a lot.
Why?
I think my father has this relentless optimism and positivity that I think is by the way really essential for this job. The hardest part about being a founder is there's so much unknown in front of you, and you're trying to achieve something new, and you basically have to kind of delude yourself at every moment that even though you have limited proof that you're doing the right thing, or that what you're going to try is going to work, that you absolutely have to continue, and you have to go for it. And I think that's essential.
Do you meet many other women entrepreneurs in your space, or are you one of the few out there?
Oh, there are women entrepreneurs. Yes, I do.
And do you find that you've received any pushback or anything like that, or do you feel that it's not a big deal in 2025?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's something that I try not to think about that much, because I can't, nor do I want to change it. I am a woman. I'm laughing because that got me thinking about Ariana Grande's song, God is Woman. But anyways, I am a woman. That's not something I can change about myself, nor want to change about myself. And so, is there some sexism? There is. Does it come up? Sometimes. I get funny comments about whether I'm building Loop to find a husband, and, there are some gendered comments about dating. But I just try to make it part of my strength, quite frankly, right? It's this is who I am, and I can only use what I have. So
you're doing a great job.
I think it's like find the meaning in that, and use it to your advantage.
So do you see that like Loop is your baby? Like, is this is yours forever? Like, do you see any other things, God willing, married, children, anything else in the horizon that we haven't learned about you today?
Oh my gosh. Like on the personal side, of course, but on the business side, I'm laser focused on building Loop and really taking it to the moon. And we're at the very, very beginning of where. So
you're excited. You get up out of bed in the morning. You're ready to go.
Yeah. After 800 alarms set up at 8-minute intervals, I do get up in the morning. I'm a night owl. And
when you go to bed at night?
Don't want to. I'm really trying to be better. I'm trying to stick to like 1 a.m. But yeah. But
occasionally you'll.
I love the nighttime is just
productive.
Is very productive for me. But yes, there's obviously like I'm building a business, so ultimately like I'm trying to maximize the benefit to my shareholders and investors, right?
And if you find your husband tomorrow, do you see yourself getting engaged within the next 6 months to a year?
2 days. What do you mean? I don't know. I mean, I think.
Yeah. You're ready.
I have no rules. No, but it won't be 2 days. It won't be two days.
Men, are you hearing this?
Was a good joke.
Leanne, 2 days. You go on a date with her. You heard it here first.
No.
She is ready. Okay. I'm a rabbi. We'll make it happen. Oops, sorry. Anyway, so and is there what would, I guess this is like more of like a Rebbitzin question, but what would be your advice that you would give to people in the dating world right now, like on how to stick with it?
It's such a good question, and I have so much advice, but you should absolutely not listen. I say that as a joke, but I do caution people from. I think that there are too many rules. There are too many rules, and there are too many flags. I think we really like too many red flags, beige flags. This is definitely a green flag, and I caution people against constantly finding new rules to cling to and constantly inventing new rules. I think it's very important to understand the fact that any advice that I give is obviously, and I'm going to give some really good general advice that you should absolutely listen to, but a lot of the more specific advice that I or anyone will give is colored by their own experience, right? So I had a really great first date at mini golf. So I'm not going to sit here and say you should go on your first date in mini golf, but some people would. And I think that more than anything else, dating is about having an open mind and feeling and breaking your own rules, being open-minded. And so the advice that I can give very confidently is that you have to put yourself out there. You have to, and so figure out what.
And Loop is trying to facilitate
exactly.
that.
And so figure out what that is. I'm going to give a few examples. Number 1, sign up to Loop. Number 2, invite all of your friends to Loop. This will create opportunities for you to meet through people who know you, through people who you trust. Attend a lot of events. Find communities that you like. I find from I'm pulling from my personal experience, right? I find so again, you should totally listen to it. I'm a cool person, but I may be wrong. It may not apply to you. I think that's so important. People don't, influencers don't caveat themselves. I have often found that it's kind of when you least expect it. And so it's that event that you go to, even though you're tired and your hair is messy and your feet hurt, right? Nothing good happens to people who say no, right? You have to be open, and as my parents really like saying, it just takes one schmuck, right?
There you go.
We only need one. We only need
That's all
one.
you need. You got to put yourself in that environment to meet that one schmuck.
And here's the other piece of advice that I have to give, is give back. So, and on Loop, everyone, including the singles, everyone is a matchmaker. And a lot of our most prolific and successful matchmakers are the singles themselves. And so I really, by the way, you asked what gets me out of bed. It's work, and it's also creating introductions. And obviously I try to do, I have set up a couple that dated for many years, but they wound up not getting married. And I think that was the right decision for them. But anyways, I make a lot of introductions between people, even if it's more for friendship or professional introductions. And, one of the things that I find most fulfilling is when I find out that two friends who I introduced hang out without me. It's like, okay, good.
Validating.
They graduated.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. I think there's really like no better feeling. And, we in Judaism know it to be a mitzvah as well.
Yeah.
There's this really cool story from the Midrash. I'll share, but you tell me if I need to speed up.
No.
Okay, so there's this really good story. It's basically a discussion between a rabbi and like a Roman matron. Okay, and she tells him, how long did it take your God to create the world? And he says, 6 days. And she goes, well, what do you do for the rest of the time? And he says, make matches. And so first of all, I want to pause, and how amazing is this that we've elevated creating matches or shidduchs to a thing of God. And I think this is so true. It is literally the best thing that you can do. Anyways, so she continues and she goes, what do you mean? Like, I can create matches easy peasy. So then she goes ahead and creates matches between people in her staff or whatever. The next day she comes back and they're all injured. Like, they've all punched each other. They're really upset with the matches. And so she goes, I can't believe it. I thought it would be easy. And the rabbi goes, yeah, actually, God says that creating a successful match is as hard as parting the Red Sea. Kashe kekriyat Yam Suf. And so I think this is such an incredible line. Like, there's so much to take from it. It's like, why was it described as hard as splitting the Red Sea? And so there are many different theories. It could be thought of as, like splitting the Red Sea was an act of emancipation, right? And so by finding a match, perhaps being solitude is like spiritual slavery, right? So there's that. There's also the visual of a sea going from 1 to 2 to 1 again. And of course, we kind of know from like the story of M&A, right? I told you we'd come back to it. I'm so glad you reminded me. It's a feat of timing, right? Like, the timing had to be just right. Very similar to relationships. It could be the right match, but the wrong timing. I really believe in that. Then this I also really like. The Rambam is kind of more of a rationalist. So he says, you could like fall in love and explain meeting through context and, like very logical reasons. But no matter which way you met, you're always going to kind of give that meet cute a sort of supernatural meaning. It's going to seem like it's from the hand of God. Something that I also firmly believe, which is why a lot of our matches on Loop are quite successful, because people feel like, oh, the stars aligned, and it's to be. It's meant to be.
You're creating holiness. You're bringing about a level of holiness,
yes.
which I'm thinking of right now, a level of kedusha.
I think so.
You're playing a matchmaker. You legitimately are bringing two to become one. You're merging. It says in the Jewish wisdom that our shidduch, our match, is set in stone 40 days before conception. But then we live our lives. And it might be that you can go your entire life, even though your shidduch is out there, you might go an entire life not knowing who your match really is meant to be. And it was already set in stone. And it's our life that we have to go through all our experiences and the trials, the tribulations, and go on our path to get reunited with our shidduch.
So interesting.
So you're bringing that about.
I'm trying, but our users are.
And that's all we can do.
But I'll give one more insight from this line that I'm obsessed with. Like I can't stop thinking about it. And I think it's also really practical dating advice. And the insight is, God's really powerful. It's actually it wasn't that hard for him to part the Red Sea. And so the reason why it is said that matchmaking is as hard as parting the Red Sea is because after he parted the Red Sea, that's what was hard. It was hard for him because he didn't know, were the Israelites actually going to respond the way I want them to? Because, of course, we know that in Judaism, while everything is inevitable, we also have free will.
The Jews had to decide to walk through the Red Sea.
Right. So the question is, God parted the Red Sea, but what was hard about the feat was to see if the Israelites would actually take those steps.
Take the chance.
And I think this is such a beautiful parallel to matchmaking, where the matchmaker can work really hard to find the match and to suggest the match, but ultimately it's up to the singles to take the risk, to put their best foot forward, to open their heart to potential rejection, to let down.
Beautiful.
And that I think is really, really moving.
Lian.
Yes.
I feel like I've learned a tremendous amount today, and I'm so grateful and so honored that you decided to come on our show today.
Oh.
And I give you a bracha, a blessing, that you continue to go forward from strength to strength, and you should continue to push those boundaries, push those limits, and continue to do what you're doing by being yourself, seeing the need and going for it. Because it's, as you said, there's ideas, but then there's also executing it and utilizing it. The gifts that Hashem has given you, and I can see that the world needs what you've put out there, and you're doing God's work.
Oh, thank you so much.
You should only continue to have tons of hatzlacha, which is success, and bracha, blessing, and may be that I can also dance at your wedding.
Amen. That I like. I like.
Thank you so much.
That I like, and I want to reciprocate. I think you've built an amazing community. And maybe one day I'll move to LA and be a bigger part of it. But until then, my brother is moving to LA.
All right, well,
you'll see him at J-Hub.
We'll make it happen.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.